Imagine, just for a second, a technology. Something so advanced it could let you peer into the future. Maybe predict elections. Or, get this, even alter reality itself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what if devices like that weren't just, science fiction? What if they were real?
Mm-hmm.
Built, according to the sources we're looking at today, from alleged alien blueprints.
And possessing a secret history, one that's apparently impacted major global events. It's quite a claim.
It really is. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at some truly extraordinary source material.
Exactly. Our mission here is to unpack two alleged pieces of this kind of advanced tech. One called Project Looking Glass and another known as the Montauk Chair.
Okay.
And we'll explore their reported connections to, well, everything from ET life, government secrets, to the actual nature of human consciousness.
So we'll be digging into how these things supposedly worked, their alleged yoga, some pretty big ones actually, and the, frankly, mind-bending implications if any of this is true, especially around a key point in time, 2012.
That's the plan.
All right, let's start with Project Looking Glass. The sources describe this as huge, right?
Oh, colossal is the word used.
Right.
Supposedly built in deep underground bases. I mean, picture something where a person standing next to it would seem tiny.
Massive scale. But
Yeah.
how did it supposedly work? The mechanism sounds really out there.
It does. The material suggests that when it was switched on, you had these rings,
Yeah.
several rings, moving in different directions,
Okay.
and they shield a central barrel of water. Now, this water, interestingly, is compared in the sources to the pineal gland in your brain.
The pineal gland, like the third eye kind of thing.
Sort of, yeah, that connection is made. The idea is this water somehow flips over or changes state in time-space.
Oh, it's over.
That's the description. And in doing so, it apparently captures argon gas and visual images from, well, from other points in time.
So the output isn't like a screen, it's gas.
Flowing argon gas, yeah, forming huge images. And they mention a specific visual quirk, a fisheye lens distortion effect. It could supposedly project images as big as the entire Earth. And there's this symbol associated with it, too, an eye with rays, which sounds a lot like the all-seeing eye symbol, on the dollar bill.
Interesting detail. So if it's this complex, this strange, where did the plans supposedly come from? Not Earth, I'm guessing.
According to these sources, no. The blueprints are said to have come from the Veens from Vega, an alleged ET contact.
Beings from Vega. Okay. And how are these blueprints even understood?
That's where cube geometry comes in. The claim is there were specific folding patterns, almost like origami, integrated into a cube structure.
Right.
When you folded it correctly, it formed a triangle with an eye in the middle, and that somehow unlocked the plans for these ring machines.
Okay, this is where it gets really heavy, according to the sources. Alleged real-world applications, like influencing elections.
Yes, that's a major claim. That Project Looking Glass was used to, quote, cheat on presidential elections.
Cheat? How? By just seeing the future?
The sources suggest it was more direct, by viewing future newspaper headlines or TV reports showing the results. They could then allegedly program voting machines. Just subtly, to tip the vote just enough to match the future they wanted or saw.
Specifically, they mentioned Bush versus Gore in 2000 and Bush versus Kerry in 2004.
Exactly. Achieving that razor-thin margin, apparently by design.
It's a massive accusation.
And it doesn't stop there, does it? The sources link this to the Iraq War.
They do. They assert that perhaps the primary mission of the Iraq War was to capture a specific looking glass device.
A looking glass was in Iraq. How did it supposedly get there?
The narrative presented is that this particular device was ancient, dug up in Sumer.
Ancient Sumer, wow.
Then it allegedly fell into the hands of Gaddafi in Libya, which the sources claim is why Libya was eventually targeted.
Okay.
And then it was passed to Saddam Hussein in Iraq. The U.S. government, according to this, felt it absolutely had to retrieve and deactivate it.
Why? What was the big fear?
The fear, reportedly, was that its continued operation, maybe by someone who didn't fully understand it, could cause an Earth pole shift, a planetary catastrophe, a pole shift. So the stakes were incredibly high, if you believe this account.
Astronomical, yeah.
So with all this power, this influence,
Mm-hmm.
are these things still running somewhere? What happened to them?
Well, perhaps surprisingly, the sources claim that all looking glass devices on Earth were completely deactivated and deconstructed by December 2006.
All of them. Why dismantle something like that?
Again, the reason given circles back to that fear of planetary instability. Concerns about inappropriate energy movement causing an Earth axis shift. Essentially, too dangerous to keep around.
Huh. And they even mentioned pop culture links.
Yeah, a couple. The sources claim the tech is shown in the movie Contact, the blueprints aspect, and also in the horror movie 13 Ghosts.
Okay, Contact, I can maybe see the connection. 13 Ghosts is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's Looking Glass, observing the future, maybe tweaking it. But then there's the Montauk chair. This sounds like it takes things a step further.
It does. If Looking Glass was about seeing, the Montauk chair, according to these sources, was more about doing, about projecting consciousness.
And this one also had alleged ET help.
Yes. This time attributed to ETs from Sirius, from the Sirius star system, and its main function is described as being a psychic amplifier.
A psychic amplifier. What does that actually mean? How did it work?
The idea is that it interfaces directly with a person's consciousness, someone sitting in the chair, and it vastly boosts their natural psychic abilities, their innate potential.
Boosts them how much? To what end?
Enough, supposedly, that a psychic focusing their mind in the chair could literally create a wormhole.
Create a wormhole, like for travel.
Exactly, and use it to send people through time.
Whoa, okay, time travel. That's huge. They connect this to anything else, like the Philadelphia experiment. I've heard stories about that.
They do briefly mention it as context, the legend about high-energy experiments on Navy ships back in WWII.
Right, making things disappear.
Yeah, supposedly pinching time-space, making tools, even parts of ships jump or vanish. But the sources also emphasize the horrific reported effects on the crew. It paints a picture of these kinds of manipulations being incredibly dangerous and unpredictable.
Definitely sounds like something you wouldn't want to mess with lightly. The sources also mention something specific about the chair's output. Something about wavelengths.
Uh-huh. They say it produced multiple wavelengths, and critically, some of these matched a natural 20-year harmonic in the Earth's vibration.
A 20-year harmonic, what was that used for?
It apparently acted like a resonance key, helping them pinpoint and locate people accurately within time during these alleged temporal jumps.
Okay, this is intricate stuff, which leads us, I suppose, to the whole 2012 situation you mentioned earlier. The sources have a specific name for this.
They do. The doctrine of the convergent timeline paradox, or they shorten it to D of the CTP.
D of the CTP. And this related to what the Looking Glass showed for 2012.
Precisely. The core concept is that when they used the Looking Glass to look forward in time, as they approached the date 2012, the images would just go perfectly white.
Perfectly white, like a dead end.
Yeah.
Or something else.
It wasn't just blank. Apparently, starting back around 1980, they noticed something weirder, an interlacing of images.
Interlacing.
Yeah, like two different possible futures, two distinct images related to an event would start flip-flopping. Faster and faster the closer they looked to 2012.
Flip-flopping.
To the point where, get this, they apparently needed huge server farms, massive computing power, just to try and deconstruct these overlapping, flickering images.
Wow. So it was one clear future, but multiple possibilities blurring together.
That seems to be the implication. Either timelines were converging or maybe collapsing into a single point of uncertainty, perhaps, right at 2012.
And then there's a whole other layer involving a Dr. Dan Burish and future humans.
Right. The sources bring in this figure, Dr. Burish, who allegedly dealt with beings described as future human lineage extraterrestrials. This was supposedly facilitated through Majestic 12.
Majestic 12, that alleged secret group dealing with UFOs and ETs.
The very same, according to this narrative. And these future humans, they had a problem.
Which was?
They claimed to be survivors of some cataclysmic activity in 2012. Very few survived, leaving them with a tiny gene pool and severe genetic problems.
So they needed something from our time.
Exactly. They reportedly needed present-day human DNA to try and repair their own damaged genetics.
And this connects somehow to a kids' movie, The Last Mimsy.
Bizarrely, yes. The source material explicitly claims that movie acts as a sort of big infomercial for Burish's story.
Oh.
Think about the plot. Kids find a cube, it helps them create a wormhole, they send something DNA, essentially into the future to help someone. It mirrors the core claims about Burish and the future humans.
The very specific connection. And there was a treaty involved, too.
Mention of a Tau 9 treaty, yes. The idea was to share some kind of advanced biological technology, something capable of reproducing the original seed of all life on Earth, with these ETs to help heal them.
But there was a catch.
A major warning, apparently. Don't tamper with the tree of life, which the sources equate to the fundamental source code of DNA itself, a boundary not to be crossed.
Okay, let's pull back a bit. One of the most profound ideas in all this connecting back to the looking glass, is about consciousness itself.
Absolutely. The claim is that the observer wasn't passive. What the looking glass showed could apparently be influenced by the conscious focus of the person using it.
So your thoughts could change the outcome you saw.
Directly. The example given is stark. If someone held a negative, fearful vision in their mind while looking, the image would immediately shift to show an apocalyptic vision,
Well,
which led them to this incredible conclusion. 2012 literally does represent create your own reality time. The idea that thoughts become reality wasn't just a metaphor anymore.
it was observable in the machine.
According to these accounts, yes. A direct link between consciousness and the manifested future, or at least the observed future potential.
And they even had a precise date and time for something happening.
A very precise calculation. They claimed that on December 21st, 2012 specifically, all the time travel graphs generated by the Montauk chair technology would just flatline, go completely blank for about 7 or 8 seconds.
Flatline. And what happened to people who tried to, time travel to that moment?
Everyone who tried, reportedly, experienced something they called a bump, like hitting an invisible wall in time.
A bump. Then what?
Immediately after hitting this bump, they described an incredible religious experience. Feelings of cosmic consciousness, ecstatic God consciousness.
Ecstatic God consciousness.
Yeah, an awareness of no space, no time, a sense that all knowledge was available instantly, like a brief forced enlightenment or a system reboot for consciousness itself tied to that specific moment.
Mind bending doesn't even begin to cover it.
Oh.
Okay, one more piece of tech mentioned in these sources.
Yeah.
The Roswell Cube.
Ah, yes, the cube, distinct from Looking Glass and the Montauk chair.
Found at the Roswell crash site, presumably.
That's the claim. Described as having a very precise shape with a small 1 centimeter raised pattern of filigree on it.
And it opens somehow.
Yes, and the opening mechanism is compared, intriguingly, to the puzzle box from the movie Hellraiser.
Okay, creepy. And what happened when it opened?
It didn't show the future like Looking Glass. Instead, it supposedly opened doorways or pathways to parallel realities or spiritual planes.
Parallel realities, like alternate dimensions.
That's the implication, and the sources add a caution. Some of these planes were apparently pretty nasty places. Not all were friendly.
How do the visuals compare to Looking Glass?
Quite different. No yellowy gas images. This cube showed brilliant, vibrant colors inside, often starting with a grid pattern that formed a perfect color image. They called the initial activation phase the yellow disk.
So, clear images, but leading somewhere else entirely. Not time, but other realities.
Exactly. And there's another layer of mystery. A supposed treaty with the ETs that specifically forbids them from giving you the writing that's on those panels of the cube.
Forbidden knowledge.
Seems like it. Suggesting the symbols themselves hold immense power or information deemed too dangerous, which loops back to that recurring theme the sources mention, redundant geometric metaphors.
Like the cube, the sphere with geometry.
Yes, hinting that these fundamental shapes and patterns are keys somehow to understanding both reality and this alleged advanced technology.
Wow, okay. We have covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
This has been a journey through some truly extraordinary claims from the source material we reviewed.
Absolutely. From Project Looking Glass, potentially watching and maybe nudging elections and wars,
To the Montauk chair, supposedly amplifying psychic powers for time travel.
and then the Roswell Cube, a possible doorway to entirely different realities. It's a picture of reality that is just fundamentally different from our everyday experience.
It really is.
Yeah.
And maybe the most profound piece, the biggest takeaway from all this, is that idea about consciousness.
That our focus, our expectations, what we hold in our minds might not just be internal noise. It could actually literally shape the reality that unfolds, especially perhaps around these pivotal moments in time like 2012 was suggested to be.
Yeah. What does that even mean for us, If our thoughts aren't just thoughts, but are potentially tools that influence the future we end up observing.
It's a staggering thought.
It really is. And maybe that leaves us with a final question for you to ponder. If, as this material suggests, even in a metaphorical sense, our collective consciousness has some power to shift outcomes, maybe even unlock higher awareness,
Yeah.
what responsibility does that give each of us? How does that change how we think about shaping the reality we experience just by deciding where we put our attention, our focus day to day?